One of the things that is great about being an artist on YouTube is that I get the opportunity to share the stories behind my artwork. And it's not something I've done a lot of here. I'm still getting used to being on the camera. It's a little awkward for me knowing what to do with my eyes, what to do with my hands, how to position everything. And some of the paintings, like the one that I wanted to share today, are kind of big and they're a little bit difficult to figure out how to get an interesting close-up view of. And so what I want to do today, I want to talk about this painting, the story behind it, the symbolism, a little bit about how it was made, and try this setup. And if you would let me know how that works for you, that would be great, because I want to improve at this. I want to become more comfortable with being on the camera. It's very awkward for me. Both because I am neurodivergent, and even in a regular conversation with people, I don't always know what to do with my eyes. I get distracted very easily by sounds and sights, especially if there are animals around. So they always tell you, talk to someone as if you're in a coffee shop with them. And I'm like, well, if I'm in a coffee shop with you, 9 times out of 10, if a cute baby walks past or someone walking a dog or a bird flies past, I'm going to be looking at that, not you, while you're talking. Hopefully you're not offended by it. Most of my friends are used to me doing this by now, but it does look weird on YouTube. And then I notice I tend to blink a lot, which I don't know if that's related to my allergies or not. But anyway, let's get into the story of this painting. This painting has to do with mental health issues. I actually painted this a while back. It's acrylic on canvas. It uses the reverse coloring method that I had demonstrated before on the YouTube channel. There's a painting called Elephant Crash, which I had shared my process behind, and I'll link to that. I need to do more of my reverse coloring style paintings on the channel. But essentially, when I do the reverse coloring, you can see parts of the original background here in the painting. It's in her dress, and I've put the dots over the top of her dress. There's a little bit in her face. I essentially scrape paint all over the canvas. Sometimes it's leftover paint from other paintings. I do mark making like I've done here with these triangle stamps and stencils that I used. And once I've done that for a while, I come to a point where I start seeing images or faces in the piece, and I don't know what they mean. And in this particular piece, the ones that emerged were the figure of this lady here, the wolf, and the baby. And then what I'm left to do is to fill in the rest. I added in the other imagery, like the trees, the birds, the butterfly, the flowers, and the path. I am interpreting my feelings or my thoughts. And it could be something very deep, or it could just be a current anxiety that I'm experiencing. This particular painting has to do with some of my thoughts about my growth with mental health issues. I think everyone with a mental health issue, regardless of the type of issue, whether it's depression or bipolar disorder or anxiety issues or whatever it may be, has experienced this type of decision. So when you're looking at the figure, you're going to notice that her feet right here are pointed on the path going this direction. But her body, the torso right here, her chest, is twisted back and aimed back this direction on the path. And her face, her head, is starting to curve and turn this direction. So what happens when you have a mental health issue a lot of times is that you become stuck in certain patterns. I think humans in general just do that. We all fall into certain patterns, and those patterns are familiar, even when those patterns aren't necessarily healthy for us. And part of your growth in your mental health journey is often learning about what those patterns are. Are they healthy coping mechanisms? Is it something that isn't serving you well? And do you need to make changes? And it has to be a decision that you make. You have to set out on the path to make those changes, because it is really easy to fall back into those old patterns. It's super easy to do that. So here I had added this tree, and it's supposed to represent a forest. And this forest is full of her fears and her anxieties. You can see it peeking out here in the tree. You see this lone wolf, that symbol of the independent person who isn't going to anyone else for help. They're going it alone. And the wolf is cradling this infant, sort of like cradling the inner child here. A lot of times in my work, you'll notice that I use birds. I love birds. I've always loved bird watching since I was a little kid. They show up a lot of time in my artwork, and I've used eggs usually to symbolize an idea that is not yet formed. And when the idea has more formation or growth, like it's more developed, it is a full-size bird. So here on her head, she has the bird sitting there. And while the bird is looking back at the forest, it's very colorful. It has these flowers on it. It's very bright, and it has a crown. So this is the winning idea. And the idea that's taking form, that has nested in her head, is this concept of change. So you see her looking up at the butterfly. And again, another symbol that I have mentioned, and a little bit cliche, but I have used it a lot in my work to represent transformation and change. So she's looking at it. She has the winning idea. And she has this bird here, this idea guiding her down the path. And they're both looking backwards, as if to say, we're acknowledging where you came from, but you're going forward. One thing that may not be showing up here is how I attempted to use color. And I think I'm using color better now. Again, this painting is, I think, 2 years old now, maybe 3. Not sure. I'd have to check that. But anyway, at this point in time, I was not really thinking so much about color harmony. So some of the colors are a little bit more harsh. But I had attempted to use a yellow that was slightly brighter on this side than on this side. And that's supposed to represent that this change is a brighter future for her. If I zoom into the path, or if you were to run your finger along it, you would realize that it's textured. I purposely made the path rough and rocky feeling because this is not an easy path to walk on. And we see here all these new flowers and new plant growth, also symbolizing that if she goes down this direction, she's moving towards new growth and towards a brighter path in future. So again, this concept of the mental health decision is one that we have all had to make if we're trying to grow and change with our mental health. And here's a final look at the painting. Once again, it is called The Decision. It is part of the Weird Voices series. I'll link to the portfolio page for that series on my website below. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.